Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Reckless Paradise podcast. I am your host, Dystro, and we are especially, we are specifically in spooky season, Halloween season. That's awesome. We are 2 months away from ending 2024 on a good, hopefully, high note. So, tonight's episode it is going to be very Halloween themed, of course, but we are going to be going over Halloween movies, more specifically scary Halloween movies, which they're so up my alley. Because I'm not a huge horror fanatic. I know, shocker. Um, I'm not a huge horror fanatic, but I love horror. I love zombies. I love vampires. I love like not like jump scares or anything. I'm not like a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan or anything, but I wrote down like I think four good examples for scary movies and all that stuff. But let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right on into the first one. So the first Halloween horror movie I want to talk about tonight is Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat, if you want to spell it out right. Came out in 2007. It is an American anthology horror film which was written and directed by Michael Daughtry in his directorial debut, and produced by Bryan Singer, who produced or directed and produced, I guess, the X-Men series from like early 2000s to I think 2007, I think. But yeah, that's like I guess a good powerhouse duo to get started on their a horror film, an anthology horror film. So this film has some good actors in it: Dylan Baker, Anna Paquin, and Brian Cox. All good actors in their own right. It relates four Halloween horror stories with a common element in them. Sam, a trick or treating demon wearing orange footy pajamas, which you guys know this by now, horror icon with a burlap sack over his head. And the character appears in each story whenever the other character breaks a Halloween tradition, which, I've seen the movie before. I have seen the movie before. It is very horrifying, especially the ending bit with Brian Cox and all that stuff. And I think it's a very good recommendation for a Halloween horror film since we are in spooky season. And it's like one of those films like it's not a very long movie. It's only like 82 minutes, which is like crazy. It had a $12 million budget, but it didn't really do good in the box office, which is a horrible shame. Despite being delayed for 2 years and only having a limited number of screenings at film festivals, the film over the years has received positive reviews and gathered a cult following over time. Um, so it kind of takes place on Halloween night, like I said, in the fictional town of Warren Valley, Ohio. I love that I just put Ohio in there. The plot follows a non-linear narrative with characters crossing paths throughout the film. At the center of the story is Sam, the trick-or-treater, with the orange footy pajama costume, who appears and enforces the rules of Halloween. So there's the opening with Emma and her Halloween loving husband, returning from a celebration night. Because Emma, who hates Halloween, blows out their jack o' lantern, and you do not do that. And that's strike one right there. Um, and so you have like all these different stories that's being intertwined and all that stuff, which is a very cool aspect of it. I thought it was actually kind of cool how they did it. um but yeah, it's like one of those movies that it's like mid 2000s. It's like it's like the mid 2000s cheese, which I really love. But yeah, it's a good movie. I highly recommend it. If you are in the mood for that kind of horror film and just want to see that little Sam little kid. So the next one on my list is the Terrifier series. Now, Terrifier has grown a cult following, I guess, over the years as well. I haven't watched any of the films yet, but it's like there's a Terrifier 3 coming out this year. I think it's either this year or next year. I can't remember. Um, but Terrifier is this like a crazy clown who stalks and tries to kill three women in a wretched old apartment building on Halloween night. So the first one came out in it's well, there's conflicting like uh, periods of date here. So it was like 2016, but could probably released. It probably got released in 2018. It was like very low budget. But it made kind of like a lot of money in the box office and all that stuff too. Um, but it's about this party goer and her sister who becomes target of enigmatic serial killer known as Art the Clown on Halloween night. And it's like, he's growing a cult following too. So the release dates on this is 2016 for Telluride, but it came out in 2018 for the US. Like I said, very low budget, $35 to $55,000, but it made a huge box office, which is very good. Um, but this all started uh, with the anthology film All Hallows Eve as well. Because that character originated from that franchise, which is kind of cool that they got his own movie, and three movies, in fact. So there's Terrifier 1, which came out in 2018, Terrifier 2, that came out 2 years ago, and then Terrifier 3, that comes out this year. Which, I mean, I haven't, like I said, I haven't watched any of them yet, but if you guys have, let me know in the comments below if I need to watch it or not. Well, I guess since I'm here, I might as well talk about the Terrifier 2 film as well. So this one's the complete sequel to Terrifier 1. Is the second film centered solely around Art the Clown, and the third feature-length film to feature the character. Is also the second installment in the Terrifier franchise. It also includes the return of David Howard Thornton and Samantha Scafidi. I can't pronounce that last name, but Samantha, who portrayed Arthur Clown and Veronica Hayes, respectively, in the first film, and starred a whole bunch of new actors. So the plot follows Art's resurrection in pursuit of teenage Sienna Shaw and her younger brother Jonathan on Halloween night, a year after the events of the first film, which is kind of crazy. But here's the real kicker: the budget that they had a higher budget this time, $250,000, and they made 15.7 million in the box office, which is freaking phenomenal. That's awesome. And plus the runtime for the second Terrifier film is 138 minutes. That's pretty good for a second film. Um, and the first film was 85 minutes, so it's like a huge jump there, um, which is kind of cool. I like when like some horror films are like kind of longer, and they kind of make you feel more. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? More. You have more respect for the art form. Kind of like they kind of draw it out. That's what I'm trying to think of. They kind of draw it out and make you feel like, okay, like this guy's a legitimate threat off the get and all stuff. And plus, I love when some movies they call back to the first film and be like, okay, like if you haven't seen the first film, we get you caught up, and then go right into the second one, and then just do that from there. Um, but like I said, like I haven't seen any of the Terrifier films and all stuff. So if you guys have, let me know in the comments below if I need to watch them or not. So the next one I'm going to be talking about is the very first, the original 1978 horror film Halloween, featuring the big man himself, Michael Myers. Michael Myers is, he's a cult classic. Even though he's died multiple times, it got resurrected multiple times. Um, I will go to the first one because the first one's like very authentic. It's very legitimate, and that's how Jamie Lee Curtis kind of got her start as a scream queen, a scream queen. Like a lot of people have over the years. Like with I'm trying to think of her name. I'm trying to think of her name now. With Courtney Cox and I think it's Neve Campbell. I can't remember her first. It's like her first name like will throw me off, but it's Scream and also with Ghostface. She's become a huge Scream queen over 6 films, um, which is like crazy. It's always like somebody new every time. Um, But with Halloween, it's like, it's very legitimate. It's like just one dude who's, spanned all of these movies over the years. You have Halloween, Halloween 2, you have, I think, Halloween 3, season which does not have Michael Myers in it. It's like 4, 5, 6, it's like H2O, and then there's like a whole bunch of them that I can't remember. Um, and then you have, like, you have Halloween, the reboots from Rob Zombie. Then you have Halloween, like the remastered stuff later on, like a few years ago. Then you have Halloween Kills and all that stuff, and then Halloween Ends and all that stuff. It's just like, God, like, stop making movies. um, but I will still always go back to the original one, because that was the one that kind of like introduced me into Michael Myers as a kid. Even though, like, I didn't really watch it and all stuff, but I knew about him through, like, movie lore, if you want to call it that. Um, and plus, like I said, that's how Jamie Lee Curtis got her start as a scream queen. Even though she was in Prom Night, which was kind of like a Carrie ripoff in a way, if you want to think about it. Um, but yeah, this one's a cult classic. I highly recommend it to anybody that has not watched any of these Halloween movies. Go to the first one because it's always the best. Okay, last and final one, I guess. So this one's kind of a twofer. I'm gonna be talking about it, but I'm gonna be going over the Tim Curry version and then the Bill Skarsgård version. I think that's how you say his name. But okay, both are both are good in their own right. Both are good in their own ways. But I'm gonna be talking about the 1984 version. I'm thinking that's right. The early 80s version or the 90s version, whatever. Um, Tim Curry. I mean, that man could do no wrong, kind of. But he played Pennywise to the freaking T. He over delivered, I think, on some of these lines and all that stuff. And you can't forget the what, and it's like, it was, they took all the source material from the book and made it into, they made it into like a mini TV series, but they combined it into a film. I think it was like over 6 hours long, which was like crazy. I think when I rented it before, it was like 3 hours on one disc, and then you had to flip it over for the other 3 hours. Um, and it's going through these kids' lives, and 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 it's so, it's crazy to like rack my brain around it. It's like, it's been so long since I've seen it too. Um, but the story of it's like, it's so synonymous with like American history and book history and all that stuff. And Stephen King, like, that man, he's had some really good books that have been like really, really good movies, but then there's been some books that's like, did he do something while he was writing it or something? Not to knock on his legend or anything either, but um, so that one I would probably prefer over the newer one because I have not seen the newer ones yet. I know there's like a lot of jump scares and all that stuff too. It's like, which I'm kind of trying to get more to come to. But I'm still like, big wuss with, horror, sometimes like with jump scares and all that stuff. I can't handle that. Um, but with the 2017 version of it, I think they kind of ramped it up to a whole new level, especially with chapter one and chapter two. I think both chapters, they could have been kind of like together, I guess, in a way. I'm kind of actually glad that they did two chapters, because the first one, with Tim Curry, they didn't really do that. They did like a 3 hour TV miniseries movie on the first part, and then they did the next one. Um, it was like, in a way, I guess you'd call it two chapters, but with it chapter one and chapter two, it's like, you have like same thing with from the first one, and then go into like later on also, and you have like some really good, well-known actors in the second part, which is kind of cool, which I kind of thought it had some gravitas to it. um which I mean, James McAvoy, Bill Hader, I think. Was it Jessica Chastain? I think. I'm probably butchering these names. I'm so sorry if I am, but there's like some really good name actors in that. And I think I remember somebody leaving the theater like, "Holy crap, that shit was scary." And I was like, "Oh crap, okay, well, I might have to watch it sometime." And I had not watched it since. I haven't watched it at all. Um, but with the four movies that I have had to talk about, I guess, well, I would count Terrifier 1 and 2 like two separate movies. So let's say out of the six that have, or no, seven, out of the seven that I've talked about, I would probably personally go for Halloween. But if I get around to watching the Terrifier movies, then maybe I'll say, okay, we'll watch Terrifier or something. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. What is your favorite horror Halloween movie, whatever, or horror Halloween movie, if I can speak tonight? So, with that being said, thank you very, very much for watching and staying to the very end. If you have so, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, my gaming YouTube channel, where I post funny content all the time and some really cool gaming moments and all that stuff. Your voice is always appreciated on my stuff. Um, okay, so with in the link tree down below, if I could speak tonight, in the link tree down below, there is our Instagram page, Reddit page, Twitter page. I think our individual Instagrams, individual I think Twitters, I guess. Um, and I think there is a GoFundMe link of Marissa's dad's down below, still there if it is still up. And oh, I almost forgot the song of the night. So with the song of the night, I'm going to go with a band that I had been introduced to by myself. Introduced to, which is Ice Nine Kills. If you had heard the the I think last month's Shoot the Shit or the month before, I got into Ice Nine Kills prematurely, and I kind of seen them through like YouTube and all that stuff, and I knew like they kind of like was influenced, and they did some songs about like horror movies and all that stuff, which I kind of freaking cool. I thought it was kind of cool. But tonight's song of the night, it is called "It Is the End," and it is about Pennywise. Um, and the video for it is actually kind of cool. It's there's probably I think a gore warning or something. I should probably put that out there. There's some gore. There is some disturbing images and all stuff. So that if that's not your cup of tea, do not watch it. But listen to it on Spotify. It is really cool. Um, but yeah, with that being said, I will see you next time for anything else on this spoopy season. And that's it. I will see you guys next time. Peace.